This here is a perennial plant called guara. There's two plants right here, and I believe this variety is called the bride. And right now it is just loaded with honeybees, and it's only about 7 in the morning. So as it warms up, I'm sure other little insects will be on it because I've seen a lot. But anyway, the point of this was to show you on one of the patches of perennials that's actually starting to look like something. There's some wild asparagus. Yay, we have a lot of that. But I bought a bunch of different kinds of sedum this year because I got convinced I needed a bunch of different kinds of sedum for the fall. This is Autumn Joy. This is probably one of the most common and readily available varieties of this type of sedum. It looks really good. I'm really happy with it. This is something called Xenix Orange or something like that. I bought bare roots from somewhere online, and so far I'm happy with it. It's kind of doing this wobbly thing, like twirly-whirly. I don't know if that's typical or if there's something else going on. If they're probably getting too much water, honestly. But they're really pretty purple. And then this is a, oh, I don't remember who this is. There was a sign in here somewhere. Xenic, oh, what is this one then? No, they're all mixed up. Who knows? That's great. This one for sure is Autumn Joy. This one for sure is Ava. She's been chasing quail, which is not my favorite thing. So we've been trying to minimize that, which is hard to tell a bird dog to not chase birds, but situational bird dog. Anyway, yeah, more sedum, more Autumn Joy, and then these are lemon jade. Oh yeah, these are lemon jade, and then there's some smaller lemon jades down here. 2 more kinds of guara that I don't remember. This one just hasn't really bloomed, so I don't know if it's taken its time. This one's doing fine. And then you can see I planted sunflowers in here because I realized I had all this kind of empty space. Oh, check this out! These are milkweed beetles. I've just been letting the milkweed grow wherever it wants to, because I think it's cool, and I might regret that decision later. But so this is showy milkweed, and these are milkweed beetles, or they're like, oh, I don't remember. I put them into iNaturalist once, and it was pretty cool how quick it was to ID them. But they eat the foliage, I think, so there's a lot you can kind of see. There's some damage here. One day I really hope to see some monarchs. It's part of why I'm letting the milkweed grow everywhere. Oh, let's check them out. But they have super long antennae. Anyway, back to our regular scheduled programming. So yeah, sunflowers. So this is my second to last wave of sunflowers that I'm hoping will produce. And then down here, this sedum is called Emperor's Wave or Emperor Wave. I started that from seed, and it's blooming. I started that from seed last year. Or not last year, this spring. It feels like it was last year. But it's pretty nice. I like it. It's not super big. I probably should have pinched it to get more stems this year, but honestly, I didn't really expect it to bloom in the first year, so I'm pretty okay with it. Just doing its thing this year, and then next year I'll pay a little bit more attention. And then got a massive sunflower in the way because I'm really bad at roguing those out. And then the rest of the row turns into lavender. So I believe what's in this row is Provence and Phenomenal, and there's also blue grama grass or blue gamma. I never remember if there's an R in there or not. But it's quite cute and pretty and delicate, so I figured I could plug some other stuff in between these while the lavender was getting going. This is a perennial grass. I'm kind of hoping it will just be this nice, like, I don't know, delicate accent against the lavender once it gets going. But these were tiny little plugs when I put them in, and now they're pretty nice. They look like they might even try to bloom this year, but next year and the years after is gonna be great. And you can tell they're way too close together, so I always assume things are gonna die and then have slightly higher survivorship than I expect. So that's how that goes. More sunflowers interplanted. And I did wait to plant them until, well, you can tell these aren't very old, so I waited to plant them till July, so that they weren't going to produce a bunch of shade. Another volunteer sunflower, but look how massive this one is. Ooh, this is the patch where the goldfinches have been hanging out. You can see they've already been working on this one. And then there's mysteriously some peas down here, but I don't really know where they came from. There's peas around, but that I've used in cover cropping. And oh my gosh, look how big that stalk is. This is the sunflower plant. That's my hand. There's my wrist for comparison. That's massive. It's like a whole tree. Anyway. And then it just keeps going. And we have some common mallow, which is a weed to me. I'll pull it out. More asparagus, some sort of willow that volunteered. More asparagus. Another tree trunk of a sunflower, also with a big fat seed head here that the birds will be super excited about. And then before we knew that I was going to expand over here, we planted some ponderosa pines. And this one is getting double whammy water because it's on the original line we planted it with. So there's, oh, the emitters aren't even lined up anymore. There's emitters popped in there. And then it's getting water from the drip tape too. So it's doing quite well. It's pretty happy. And then there's other stuff going on down here. There's some evening primrose. This is a native plant called yellow bee plant. It is the stinkiest little plant though. Not little, stinkiest plant. It's just quite pungent. Oh, there's a little bug on there. Look at that bye bug. And then if we spin around, this bed is also more hodgepodge stuff. So there's some forget-me-not down in there because there's supposed to be sedum coming in here, but there's for sure one big one. And then there's a couple more down here. I kind of ran out of stuff to plant, so I seeded some fillers that I wasn't super invested in growing, but there's one. And I do not know how to say this. It looks like a French word, but mignonette? I don't know. And then we've got other hodgepodge stuff. There's Bells of Ireland just everywhere. Another little patch of random willows popping up that I'll probably transplant once I figure out what they are. And then my last round of sunflowers is coming up, which is pretty exciting. And then this bed is chock full of echinacea that I'm going to need to move the vide out. So these are all first year plants. A couple of them have bloom shoots on them. So this is Echinacea purpurea, the standard one, but it's a cultivar called Bravado, something like that. So it's a little hotter pink. And then this is pale coneflower. I don't remember the Latin name for it. But then there's a random Veronica. I don't know, man. I've forgotten what these are called. It's either Zulu Warrior or gazania or somebody. I think that's the gazania down there. Anyway, there's a bunch of clover eating my Shasta daisies, which I don't know if I care about Shasta daisies. These are supposed to be kind of one of those double kinds. So we'll see what they turn out to be. And if I end up liking them next year when they bloom in full, but we'll see about that. And then more Shasta daisies. This looks like it's either Veronica or Veronicastrum that I planted, but I think it's Veronica. I didn't have the greatest luck with that seed this year, so I'm gonna have to do a little different trial next year. Look at that, there's more sunflowers again. And then this is all echinops till the end. So this is probably Echinops retro because I had more of the blue kind survive. There's Echinops, don't remember the variety name, but it's a white type planted at the end of that row that the gophers have been eating, so that's helpful. And then if we look up here, you can see my very sad lupine, first year lupine, mildewy as heck. But we'll get a little closer in to take a look. Oh yeah, these sunflowers are turning really well. Look at that. I must have planted those earlier. So I filmed and then accidentally deleted the section that had this row, so I have to get to redo it. This first section here is a Penstemon called Midnight Masquerade. I think it's a proven winners variety or production, and I am kind of surprised they're still blooming, but they're getting regular water, so that's probably influencing it. And then what I'm actually trying to grow them for is not necessarily this stage where there's flowers, but this stage where there are these cool seed heads. So they are these purpley green seed heads that make a really nice accent, especially in the fall. So I'm excited about that. There's close to a dozen plants. I don't think I lost any since I put them out here. And I need to move them because the original plant that I have that made me decide I wanted all these is up by the house, and it's probably that big, and I expect it will continue to get larger because it's only a couple years old. Then over here we have all my lupine that is covered in mildew. Super fun. That's pretty typical with lupines as far as I've seen. So most of these, this is my one sunrise lupine. It has the most beautiful flowers according to the pictures I've seen, and out of 100 seeds, that's what I managed to grow. More than that sprouted, but they didn't make it to survive out in the field. So I think it's a little finicky, or I'm just not doing it right. Both can be possible. So most of the rest of these are Russell mix lupines. And oh, there's still somebody blooming down there, so they're still trying. But yeah, lots of mildew, and I'm debating if I want to try to take the time to cut these back or if it's going to make that big of a difference, because it's just the time of the year for them. Anyway, down here we have a whole bunch of eryngium. So all this first section is going to be blue steel, which is, somebody already started throwing up a bloom spike, which is great. And you can start picking them. And that continues to be blue steel, and then it turns into white glitter. So there's actually a pretty marked difference in the plant habit, it kind of seems. So when you look at that plant versus that plant, to me those are noticeably different in their form, and even when you have, especially when you have polarized glasses on, the color is a bit different, which is interesting. So they're just slightly different shades of green. Anyway, this is when it is white glitter, so I'm really stoked about this because this means I get to pick some of these this year, and they're pretty large for the type of arrangements I do. So next year they'll probably set up, hopefully they'll set up more smaller branches, because I do kind of smallish arrangements, and that's a lot to put in one, but that's how it is. And I'm not going to complain because look how cool these are. Eryngium is another one that's really loaded with insects a lot of the time, especially little wasps, which is pretty cool. And then down here in the crunching is the other patch of echinops, which is also getting ready to bloom. And this is the white variety whose name I've forgotten, but I have it in my notes somewhere. And the whole reason I wanted to grow echinops, or it's commonly called globe thistle, is because I was at, I forgot the name of the park, sorry. It's in Spokane. It's a big garden and park. And there was this one blue globe thistle plant that was just covered in bees. And it was probably like 6 or 7 feet tall and 3 or 4 feet wide. So with that diameter and height, you can imagine I planted far too densely. But down here is the reason I do that, which is gophers have been eating a plant, and we haven't been trapping them or anything. Ava's caught a few, but I've been trying to wait and be patient and accept the plant loss in hopes that nature will kind of take its course. And I've seen, I think, 2 different gopher snakes out here in the last month, so hopefully that means they're starting to come in, because I don't mind a little bit of gopher action, but they're just really, they're booming right now. And then right here, if you can see that, that's a depression. That's as far as I know, that's a quail dust bath, which is unfortunate because I planted a bunch of sunflowers right here, and I think somebody's been finding them and eating them, so it's not great. Anyway, there also used to be eryngium all through here. That's a volunteer willow. We'll find out who it is next year probably. There used to be eryngium all through here, and then this is a rattlesnake master plant. I think I said eryngium, I meant echinops. And then there used to be another rattlesnake master plant over there. So there's a chunk where the plants I planted are gone, but I have more and enough to move a few over next year if I need to. This is a patch of delphinium that I planted too late and they were too small. But some of them are still making it and going, and we've got a lot more bindweed here. So this is field bindweed, Convolvulus arvensis. It's invasive and a noxious weed on the state noxious weed list. It's impossible. I mean, it's gonna take us years to make a dent in it, but I tend to be a little bit stubborn when it comes to some of this stuff, so we'll probably get there. Anyway, these delphiniums look great. Like, look how cool that one is. I don't know if it's really meant to look like that, but it's interesting. Oh, look at the white bee on that one. So if you're not familiar with terminology for these plants, delphinium and larkspur, this part of it here is described as the bee for whatever, I don't know why, it just is. Maybe because it looks like a bee landed on it. So this has a white, mostly white bee. This one also has a white bee. So that's pretty cool. Oh, look how this one, that one's cool. It's like fuzzy, lemony, yellow, white. Anyway, here's our terrifying, scary plant. This is not a perennial in our region as far as I'm aware. So this is our pumpkin on a stick plant, and the pumpkins are getting bigger. How cool is that? That is so neat. And I bet if we were to look, ow, I should have put gloves on. If we were to look a little deeper in here, we might see more. There's another one. Yeah, they're coming. That's pretty cool. I think I want to grow a lot more of these next year just because they're really amazing. Ooh, and then over here we've got just a handful of perennial scabiosis. This was like the Isaac House blend. And because the Fama series is a little bit too rich for my blood. So these are looking pretty good. We got a little beetle on there. Yeah, look at those. Those are magnificent. So we've got maybe a dozen, 10 or so plants in there. Some more yarrow, some nasturtium that's really loving life. This is where the calla lilies are. These ones are 2 or 3 years old. I had them in a pot for a while, and then I've just decided to see if they will survive in ground. I don't think they will over the winter, but we'll find out. And then my very sad patch of perennial gladiolus. I think they're also called orchid something. So you can see on here the quantity of damage. So they just never stood a chance with the, pretty sure it's thrips. So we'll see. I'm gonna keep trying to spray bricks and stuff like that and keep working on my soil health. I also planted more sunflowers down here since this is pretty sparse. I figured the sunflowers could make it up through it. And then I could still get something out of this section other than this really pretty nasturtium, which if you're not aware, you can eat the flowers and the leaves. So they kind of taste peppery and they're just pretty. So you could put them on your salads or whatever. So this is a cute little friend. I was trying to do like kind of a ground cover with them to prevent, you know, all the stinking clover, and this is actually black medic coming in, but to prevent some of those weeds coming in. But even these have thrip damage, it looks like, so that's wild. I also planted on purpose columbine in here because that is ultimately the like understory crop that I want to be in here, but it'll take it all a while to kind of meld together. And then over here we have crocosmia. These are really reminiscent of my childhood, and so I just keep trying to grow them, and they're doing pretty well. We'll see how they do through the winter. We'll see. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but you can make an umbrella out of this sunflower plant's leaves. And then look at that guy. Look at it. From the Y of my thumb to the tip of my pointer finger is about 4 inches. So we've got, it's like 8 to 10 inches in diameter. It's pretty cool. This is part of why I leave sunflowers everywhere. They're just fun. And then we're back to the lisianthus, the liatris. And a lot of these are getting past the point of picking, but I'm okay with it. They are just absolutely beloved of all the pollinators. So you can see the tip here has started to turn brown, and this happens really quickly with the white variety, I've noticed. So you have to pick them when this like top section is in full bloom and the rest is like getting ready to go. So you can still pick this one and it still looks nice and bright and white on the top, but the rest of them on this plant had like 12 different stems. So, oh, there's an anomaly. That's like blooming at the tip now instead of at the beginning. I guess they might do that. I might push from the top. Anyway, it happens on the purple ones too. So there's a lot in here that I wouldn't pick for cut flowers anymore, but there's also a lot that I would. So this has proved to be a really great little patch. I didn't do anything special with these. This row closest to us is ones that I've had for a couple years up in a different spot, and I moved them, and some of them did something funky. So if anybody knows what's going on here, I thought maybe it was over water or that I got eaten, or I just don't know. It's not pulling out, but it's only affecting the ones that I transplanted. So who knows? And then on the back seat, there's a bee. There's hanging out. I know we've spent some time here chasing bees, but these all from the back were like bags of liatris that I bought at Costco. So not too special, like in terms of acquiring them, but pretty glorious as a stand of flowers. Like you can see these pretty far away. And they're always loaded with bees. So there's many, many benefits. We're in the dahlias now because I want to show you all the different dahlias. So these aren't typically considered perennial in this zone. So we're zone 7A or 6B, depending on the year. This is one that I grew from seed. There's some cool different creatures on here right now, just hanging out. But I am going to try to, oh, there's a bee in here too. I'm going to try to overwinter some to see what happens. So some that I'm not as invested in keeping, like this is an Arabian Night, and they're all open center, which is not what they're supposed to do. But whatever. So I'm going to try to leave some of these in the ground this year and see if they come back. So this is my kind of second wave of them. This kind of wacky one I nicknamed Beloved last year, like Bee-loved, because I came out one day and there were 6 bumblebees sleeping in one flower. That was memorable. So I don't like, it's not a cute form or anything. It's not attractive in the, you know, classical dahlia sense, but I quite like it for the bees. And then this is one that I started last year from seed from Floret, and it has this really cool cut leaf situation going on, which you could honestly just use this for the foliage and it would be quite pretty. But it's not blooming yet, but I'll have to come back. This is one I tentatively called like Sugar Fairy or something quite silly. And I think it was a collarette type one. So I'm excited to see that bloom. It looks like it'll be here any minute now, basically. So there's this section which has a mishmash of things that I saved that were from seed to see how they did in a second year. And then some named ones that I'm not super invested in them, honestly. And then some of these were from a mix that I got from somewhere a couple years ago that I have long lost the name of, but they are pretty when they do blooms. There's like some pom-pom and other types in there. So these are mostly named ones. That is interesting. What's going on here? I don't know how I feel about that. We'll see. But there's some nice ones coming in. And again, these are probably from a mix that I've lost the name of. This is for sure when I started from seed, so it's a little bit crazy legsy, but got some curly petals in there. And then I saved the cactus type one last year because I thought it was pretty and the bees really loved it. And then we get down into this year's. So these, again, all ones I started from seed. This kind of end is from some of the Floret seeds from a few years ago. So there's this nice open face one. I don't think I'll save that one because there's some other really cool ones that came through in this batch that I do want to try to save. So this just happens when you're growing from seed. You get a lot of different varieties that you don't necessarily want to keep. But bees love them all if they're open-faced anyway, so. Oh no, come on. Okay, maybe not. This is like kind of reminiscent of that beloved one, but a little bit tidier looking. But the super cool one down here that I'm really enjoying is this one here. So it's got this tiny frill of inner petals and then kind of stripy strawberry lemonade or raspberry lemonade kind of color going on, which is pretty cool. And then there's this, this one is weird. When it fully opens, a lot of these little ray flowers, whatever they are, the smaller flowers in the center turn into these little frill of darker ember kind of colored petals. So I actually quite like it. It's not pretty, again, in the classic sense of dahlia, something you're gonna find at a distributor, but that's the glory of growing your own seeds. You get to get some wacky things and decide if you want to keep them. Here's some really basic plain ones, but the big winner, other than that kind of strawberry lemonade one, is this one here. So I'm for sure keeping that one, and I'll dig it up this year and save the tubers and give it a label of some kind to keep track of it, but I really like that. So that's a little bit malformed on that side, but there's been others that are a lot more kind of uniform shaped. So those are two of my favorites. Well, three of my favorites, I guess, but who's counting? And then we've got cactus type down here, which I've mentioned. Not my favorite. I've started to pull out the ones that I really don't like. This one is called Golden Scepter, I think. Again, I'm not that impressed with it. I don't think it was supposed to have an open center, and one of the plants has more of an open center than the other one, so I think that was just an unfortunate choice of tubers. That one's kind of cool, but eh. This one, oh, look at her. We'll root around and see who it is. Maybe not. Oh. Peaches and cream sound right? Peaches and cream sounds right to me, so that's a nice one. Ooh, this is a nice one. Diva? Does Diva sound right? Diva sounds right. Diva's a purple. That's pretty nice. Ooh, that one's cute. Look at that. Anyway, we could just go through and have me say, oh, those are so cute at every single one. And I honestly haven't put a single one of these in my bouquets. So I'm kind of on the fence about dahlias because they have such a short vase life, and I try to create bouquets or sell stuff that's gonna last at least a week, and these don't. And there's someone around who does sell just like straight bunches of dahlias, and I think she's already doing it. She's already doing a great job. Do I really need to be in this market? Like, me, I don't know. Oh, there's Boom Boom White living up to its name. Look at the edges on this one, the petals. So I'm kind of on the fence about, like, do I really keep investing a bunch of time and energy into dahlias? I think not. I think next year I'll do just one row and then see from there. So I have about 1.25 rows this year. And I do really enjoy them personally. I pick them and bring them in for myself. And to me, that's well worth growing. Something that you personally enjoy a lot. And I like giving them away. And there might come a time when like event work pops up where I'll be really happy I have a row of dahlias. So I've already invested in these tubers, and I had a okay success rate in overwintering tubers in my terrible tubs this year. So I have some confidence that I can continue to kind of save the ones I already have. This one is quite beautiful with that blush tone. Here we go. But yeah, I just want to find the name of this one because I think it might be like Lights Out or somebody, but yep. Lights Out. I just really love the margin of the petals there. And then here's my little bank of alyssum. So I was trying to see if I could make a cover crop, or not cover crop, but a sort of, again, undercrop sort of situation. and I planted all this alyssum, which then just flopped out into the path, which not the worst thing, and it's attracting a lot of different cool insects. But this one's also interesting. I wonder if this one is subject. Oh, it's a little bit. I don't think that's true to type there. Interesting. And then we have this beautiful, beautiful friend, which I think is where I'm going to leave us on the dahlias, because I could keep rambling about them, but that's pretty beautiful. Despite all the clover, despite all the weeds and neglect, this is the longest stemmed, most productive, most glorious lisianthus I have ever managed to grow. And I am just stoked. Beyond thrilled. And there's this one. Oh, I really want to pick it, but it's not ready. I want a few more flowers on it to be ready to go, but it's just this wonderful. Oh, they're so gorgeous. Anyway, check it out. Beautiful. So I have a fairly small sales setup, and it's just kind of a roadside stand sort of situation, but this is a pretty standard, I guess, harvest day. Obviously there's some changes week to week. Some things will get sad and wilty after I pick them, and then they'll sit overnight and perk back up, and then I typically arrange them the next day and sell them over that day, and then 2 days. So today's Friday. I usually pick Fridays and then arrange all the flowers on Saturday, which helps me weed out anything that didn't hydrate well. And by hydrating, I mean just like these look sad and wilty right now, but they'll perk back up once they've had a chance to sit in the water for a while. And so it helps me weed out anything that I thought looked good or that got damaged on the way in, because it's going in the truck. Yay. It's not the smoothest of rides, but look at this whole bucket of marigolds. Oh, I love this time of year. I mean, I love every time of year for all the different flowers. And we've got a handful of different kinds of grasses back here, mainly millets. And then I grew up calling this kind of airy one witchgrass, but it's there's an ornamental kind that's sold. This mahogany splendor is one that has to rehydrate, and then I've got a handful of sunflowers starting to make it. Still got some snapdragons, so I did end up getting all the snapdragons deadheaded, and it's a lot easier to see the ones that look good. I need to go through and deadhead all of the rudbeckia. I'm probably just going to whack back all the plants and then see if we can get another flush of flowers. There's still a little bit of liatris coming through that we just saw. There's the first year. This is yarrow that I planted this spring blooming. This is amaranth, and we've got atriplex down here. Of course, many beautiful zinnias, status, a little bit of cosmos that I'm still picking, eryngium, and then we've got gomphrena. I prefer this, whatever species that strawberry field kind is, I prefer that a lot more because it has a lot more rigid stem. And yeah, that beautiful bucket of marigolds. So this will turn into probably 20 to 30 bouquets tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. We're gonna end on this beautiful bucket of zinnias. This is by far the best crop of zinnias I've ever grown, and they're just really magnificent. And I'm really excited about these Queenie Lime series varieties, because I thought they just didn't do very well here, and I think they just weren't getting enough water last year. So I'm really thrilled with how those are coming in. Thanks for following along and watching, and hopefully you saw something that sparked your interest, and have a wonderful day.